Hey, greetings there, everyone. Gleecon here again with another episode of Lore of Warcraft. On our last episode, we looked at Chronicles and we started our 25th year. So we are right up there in the same year that Classic begins. There's very few Chronicles or anything else for that matter left that we should cover. But we talked about how Nomergon was destroyed and sets up for the gnomes fully being a member of the current alliance. So that's all that stage is set. Of course, we know humans and dwarves. We haven't really talked about why the night elves are, so there's still a little bit to go in terms of that. Our parallel thing, we've looked at this Dungeons and Dragons World of Warcraft campaign setting, and we finished. Well, I think we're actually I jumped just too far. Yep. We're not on chapter 9. I went a bit too far with it. We are past that. I think I mislabeled it on the video title, but I did label it correctly on YouTube. Yeah, we're on. Nope, we passed 6 too, so we're on 7. So we did skills and feats. We just talked about it. It wasn't really. There was no flavor text. There's not even a ton that was like things we see in World of Warcraft, and definitely nothing that we see in World of Warcraft that we haven't seen before in the other book or in Warcraft 3. So there's not that much. Here we go. So we're going to look at description. This is character description. This is probably going to be short, so my guess is we'll do 7 and 8 on this one. Says if the Horde attacks, it must be evil. Well, we know that's not true. So choose your alignment, which is a Dungeons and Dragons thing, not a World of Warcraft thing. And then you choose your affiliation. And this is the same affiliation table as before. The Scourge is still a major force, as is the Burning Legion. And there are independent people separate from the Horde and the Alliance. That's actually not changed. We can look at, see, it says determining affiliation. Humans, night elves, high elves, iron forged dwarfs, and gnomes make up the Alliance, and the Horde includes orcs, Tauren, Forsaken, and jungle trolls. Yeah, so the high elf part is goblins refuse to be drawn and consider themselves as the only independent race thus far. Does say if a player chooses their PC to be a different part of an affiliation from the one they were born, you could make a story that allowed you to have whatever, or Alliance or Orc, or a human Horde, for instance. We'll read a little bit of this text here. The Alliance. The Alliance has the largest affiliation with the most member races. And that's by 1. If the PCs are Alliance members, they will have no shortage of allies. They can count the humans, iron-forged dwarves, gnomes, and most of the various elf races, high and night elves, among their allies, and we know that also changes. Although the Alliance is defeated in Lordaeron, it still rules most of Azeroth from Stormwind City. The Alliance's official base is Theramore, off the eastern coast of Kalimdor. I believe that also changes, because Stormwind is their base. Although the island is small compared to the new Horde homeland, the Alliance still has considerable influence on Kalimdor since adding the native Night Elves to its member races. The Alliance leadership is strong, consisting of Jaina Proudmoore, a human, and Tyrande Whisperwind and Malfurion Stormrage, both Night Elves. Tensions abound within the ranks of the Alliance, however, and the leaders frequently have their hands full. Although the Alliance has many supporters, there are still problems that arise from having so many member races. The races all have their opinions on how the Alliance should be run, not to mention who should run it, and many have their grudges with the other races. High Elves' inherent addiction to arcane magic often separates them from the other races as they become distracted and aloof. The Night Elves mistrust the High Elves for their magic addiction, and many Night Elves remember the day, 10,000 years ago, when the High Elves brought the Burning Legion to Azeroth. Ironforged dwarves are obsessed with new information concerning their Titan origins, while some only want to find out their histories. Others are taking the information and using it to claim that the dwarves are a superior race compared to the others. The gnomes mourn their fallen homeland as the other races do and work on making a new home in the crags of Baal Modan. The humans try to hold it all together while dealing with the loss of their empire on Lordaeron. It was the loss of Lordaeron that created the most tension within the Alliance. The High Elves had their magical land of Quel'Thalas, The humans held Lordaeron, and the dwarves had the mountainous region of Cosmodon, but after the Scourge rampaged over the land, those who escaped ended up living cramped together on the small island of Theramore. Each race feels the loss of its home in its own way, and some find solace in blaming the others. For if only the humans had done more, the High Elves wouldn't have lost their home, and if only the High Elves had been stronger in their magic workings, the humans wouldn't have lost their home. The dwarves and gnomes seem to be the happiest of the Alliance races with their new excavation area of Bael'Nadan. There are whispers of these races attempting to set borders for a new homeland there, but nothing is official yet. Theramore is the strongest commerce area on Kalimdor, besides Ratchet, of course, and the importance of commerce is one manner in which the Alliance races seem to agree. The close quarters do appear to cause more internal strife than the leaders are comfortable with, and further exploration of Kalimdor is encouraged to release some of the population pressure within Theramore's walls. The Alliance is the best affiliation because it gives PCs several different campaign opportunities beyond a typical hack-and-slash monster killing spree. The group can deal with political intrigue, spying, assassination attempts between friends, and the search for new homelands. Okay. For the most part, that tracks with what it's going to be, but there are some holdovers from the other Warcraft Dungeons and Dragons setting that just don't match up. The Horde. A Horde campaign will consist of any combination of Orcs, Tauren, Forsaken, and Jungle Trolls. The Orc PCs will likely call Durotar, specifically probably the capital city of Orgrimmar, their home, while Tauren generally reside in Thunder Bluff, the capital of Mulgore. The Jungle Trolls have been uprooted from their island homes. While there are more trolls living in Durotar, Jungle Troll PCs could also come from Mulgore. Forsaken characters will likely live in Undercity or the Tristful Glades. Regardless of where they hail from, the PCs will likely bow to the leadership of Thrall. Tales have already elevated this hero into living legend status as he freed the orcs from the Alliance camps, took them west, liberated them from Grom Hellscream's demonic influence, saved the Jungle Trolls from the Alliance, saved the Tauren from the Centaur, helped found Mulgore, founded Durotar, re-established the lost spirituality of the orcs, and fought on the front lines of the final battle of the Third War. The Horde is strongly united under Thrall, but that doesn't mean that there isn't strife. The orcs see this time as a great reawakening. They have broken the shackles of many masters, first their own warlock's demonic control, then the less metaphorical shackles of their Alliance captors. Now with both mind and bodies free for the first time in generations, they stake out the borders of their new homeland, removing invading monsters with relish. As they establish their place in the world, they are also discovering their shamanistic heritage that was lost decades ago. The Tauren and Jungle Trolls, already practitioners of divine magic, aid them in this quest. The orcs do not all follow Thrall with such reverence, however. Some disagree with his continued truce with the Alliance, when many orcs would rather wipe it from Kalimdor for good. Other orcs left the Horde when Thrall made his opinion of arcane magic known. Warlocks and other evil practitioners of arcane magic are not welcome in the Horde. Others greatly dislike the Forsaken and cannot understand their new allegiance. That's not true about warlocks anymore. The Tauren are also experiencing, this just says how you want, if you wanted to have Horde people start on the Eastern continents, Eastern kingdoms. The Tauren are also experiencing a change in world outlook. Having spent lifetimes as a nomadic people suffering frequent attacks from Centaur warbands, they have also claimed territory as their own. With the help of the Horde, the Tauren have settled in Mulgore, and although the Centaurs still attack, the Tauren now have a land to fight for and will not be defeated so easily. Tauren treasure their friendship with the newcomer orcs and see the spiritual guidance they provide as a small price to pay for the warrior skills of the orcs. The Jungle Trolls are the newest addition to the Horde, once an evil cannibalistic race residing in the island southeast of Kalimdor. They changed their ways when the Horde saved them from an Alliance ambush. Much of their home was destroyed in the attack, and Thrall invited them to settle in Durotar. Although already practitioners of divine magic, the Orc and Tauren convinced the Jungle Trolls to abandon their darker practices, namely cannibalism and sacrifice. Many Jungle Trolls had trouble with this condition, but after some shaky months, they accepted it and took guidance from the Tauren on how to worship without flowing blood. That's a weak backstory. I think the backstory as we see it now is a lot better. The Forsaken remain on good behavior with Horde member races, but secretly distrust and mock their allies. They feel the Horde is made up of brutish and ignorant peoples and are full of pride that they have manipulated the Horde into accepting their allegiance. They will not openly betray the Horde, not yet, but they are slowly eroding the sense of peace and unity the Horde was experiencing after the Third War. The Horde is the best affiliation because it allows the PCs to explore a spiritual past and the excitement of holding a new country's borders against a variety of conflicts. The Horde combines a celebrated spiritual tradition with a love of honor, respect, and the heft of a good weapon. Okay. And we have independent races and whatever. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to read how to read sides either. There are faiths, and we've read about this in the past as well. The Holy Light. This is almost a straight up, this is pretty much how they covered it in the other source book. So I don't think much has even changed. They talk about the three virtues, hedonism and altruism. Find out more about divine tests of faith in Magic and Mayhem, which is the other book that we've already read. Yeah. Worship of the Light. Let's read the Scarlet Crusade here. Many Knights of the Silver Hand remained on Lordaeron for several reasons, ranging from missing the fleeing boats to a sense of duty to clear their homeland of the undead. With the destruction of Lordaeron in front of them and the knowledge that Arthas had betrayed them, some knights actually went mad. They hunt the undead in Lordaeron with a zealousness that frightens many. Innocent mortals have been killed through misunderstandings or simply just making sure. These paladins have a frightening policy. When in doubt, assume the person is undead and kill him. These knights would never admit that they walked the same dark road that led to Arthas' damnation, but few of them continue to follow the three virtues. Those who question their leaders are assumed to be undead sympathizers and are slain. Many serve the Scarlet Crusade out of fear, as to speak up means instant death. And we know the real backstory of that as well, as they're actually not mad, they're being run by a demon. We have the Knights of the Silver Hand. Yeah, shamanism, nature worship. This is pretty much a carbon copy of the other book. The one true God of Azeroth. Let's read that. While the humans follow their philosophical religions, the dwarves research their absent makers, and the Horde races pray to their ancestors. The Night Elves are the only race that is entirely devoted to the only true deity Azeroth is known, the moon goddess Elune. It is her power that sheltered the world in the early days, and her guidance that kept the Night Elves from falling into magic addiction like the High Elves. While she has interfered very rarely in direct conflicts on Azeroth, she does guide her priestesses. Many feel that Elune has become broken-hearted at the recent events in the world. With the humans and High Elves following arcane magic, the coming of the Horde, the destruction wrought by the Burning Legion, and the scourge on her beloved Kalimdor forests, and lastly the death of her son Cenarius, some Night Elves fear that she has given up on the world. Truly, there is little redemption to be found in the past several years, but many strive to show her that all is not lost. They only hope she watches and listens. They, mystery of the makers, must be the, which is the dwarf thing. There is also the Burning Legion, as we've read about it. Okay, so it does say that they discovered signs of Titans in Baal Modan. So Baal Modan seems to be a lot more important than I thought, just one part of one's own. The House of Makers. House of the Makers is the library in Baal Modan. And we have the... Did they talk about the Burning Blade here in the Burning Legion? Well, there's the Cult of the Damned, but that's... There's the Shadow Council. Now, under War Chief Thrall, they avoid all arcane influences and instead pursue shamanism. I don't know about that, because he does have warlocks in his base. There are demon cults, aka there's the Cult of the Damned, which works with the Scourge, and there is the Burning Blade, but they're not talking about it here. Okay, and other vital statistics such as name, gender, age. Here's age table, height and weight, D&D height and weight tables, and that's the end of the first part. So actually, rather than continuing on to another chapter, since that finishes out the first part, we will just end here and start the second part next time. A lot of that was just really dry rehashing. I mean, it's okay. Like if I was reading this on my own, taking my time, I would enjoy it. But to read it here on a YouTube channel show, and especially it's so much of a rehash. All right, but hey, we did another big chunk of that book, and I appreciate everyone. Hopefully, you're just enjoying this weird little oddities, but now you can see also why we skipped them for some time, because as far as contributing to the lore, they almost don't matter. Thanks, everyone. This one's in the pipe. 5 by 5.